You're watching Mick and T's Sports Report on CHCO. And now, here's two guys that wanted to go to the Freedom Convoy in Ottawa just to play on the bouncy castle, Evan and Joe.
I'm Joe Ticotsky down in New Haven, Connecticut.
I'm Evan McFarlane back here in the homeland of St. Andrews, New Brunswick, Canada.
And this is episode number 34 of Mick and T's Sports Report. And as Mark mentioned in the opening about the Freedom Convoy in Ottawa, while we're not a political show by any means, that bouncy castle sure looked like a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm a bouncy castle guy. You get these long, stringy limbs in there, and anything can happen. But I'm not going to drive that far with the price of gas right now.
All right, let's do a quick Olympic recap from the Winter Olympics. The United States won 25 medals, so we like to congratulate them on their great finish. And now we'll move on to our next segment.
Hold on. Do you want to maybe mention who is just ahead of them in the standings, or are we just going to avoid that right now?
Was it Spain? No, Spain's not a Winter Olympic. Who was ahead of the U.S.?
It was your friendly northern neighbors that might have had 26.
Oh man, my home country, my second home country, Canada. That's right, Canada won 26, which
just a subtle reminder for you. That's all.
For those keeping score at home, they do only have 10% of our population, so that sort of puts it in perspective. And our boy Mark Nichols, who was on the show back in 2021. And his men's curling team from Canada won the bronze medal this time around, which is very impressive. And of course, the Canadian women's hockey team won gold. It was really late. I didn't get to stay up. Who'd they play in the finals in the gold medal game?
Oh God, why would you? This is so far back. Why would you ask me that?
Did they beat the U.S. in the gold medal?
Yeah, I just wanted you to say it.
Damn you, Evan McFarlane.
I'm just getting my pokes in today. That's all.
Great job by them. We're trying to get one of the players from the women's hockey team on. It may take a little while, but we're working on it. All right, let's move on to the TV quiz. And this one, I could not find a picture of the show that didn't have the title name in it. So obviously that would give it away. But this show, I had never heard of it, but it had the most awesome theme song. So I am going to play it and see if you know what it is.
Probably have a better chance with the music.
There's a voice that keeps on calling me down the road.
You know it?
That's where I'll always be.
Hang on. You know it?
That is the one and only Littlest Hobo.
Maybe tomorrow I'll want to settle down. Until tomorrow I'll just keep moving on.
Okay, enough of that. What's the name of the show?
Oh, the Littlest Hobo. If I didn't get that right, one of my best friends would just leave me as a friend.
Okay, I did find a picture of it, so I will pop it up, and just so our people know, that is the Littlest Hobo.
There it is.
And according to the show notes, it was an extremely intelligent German shepherd who wandered from town to town helping people in need. So if there was some destitute person in Flin Flon, the Littlest Hobo would show up. That was impressive.
Such a good boy.
That's impressive. All right, let us move on to the music spotlight. I will go first. This was something we had to cut for time last episode. The singer's name is Joshua Henry. He is originally from Winnipeg, and he is the actor who played the role of Aaron Burr in the first U.S. tour of Hamilton. And this song is from his debut album, and it's called Hold Me, Joshua Henry.
Big dreams in your life.
Okay, Evan, what do you have for this edition?
I'm going to change it up a little bit. I'm going to kind of push the tires of an announcement that was made this morning that Paddle Fest Music Festival in St. Andrews, which is an annual thing, is coming back this year. It's kind of been on hold and downsized since COVID came along, but it is going to be the weekend of May 19th through the 22nd. So it's a 4-day music, arts, environmental kind of festival. There's stuff for all ages, really, and it's worth checking out. There's always some great bands. We've mentioned a few on our show that come, and lots of activities in the day. So keep an eye out. They haven't released any of their lineups yet, but I'm sure it'll be great. You can check them out on Facebook, or they do have a website, paddlefestnv.ca. So shout out to my buddy Luke McDonald and his crew for getting that up and going again.
Great, and that will be hopefully Flo put that into the background there, so you will see all of that. Well, that is it for this edition of Music Spotlight. Our junior research staff, which consists of a bunch of kids from Vincent Massey Elementary School here in St. Andrews, checked back over our show's history and found that we've interviewed people from 11 different sports so far: baseball, basketball, football, hockey, soccer, curling, horse racing, golf, tennis, marathon running, and snowboarding. Whew. Coming up next, we make it sport number 12 as we talk rugby with a local college champion. You're watching Mick and T's Sports Report on CHCO-TV in St. Andrews. Welcome back to Mick and T's Sports Report on CHCO-TV. Our first guest is from right here in St. Andrews, but she attended St. Stephen High School, one town over, before going on to the University of New Brunswick in Fredericton, where she will graduate this May, and where she was an all-conference player on the women's rugby team, which won the 2021 Atlantic Collegiate Athletic Association Championship. Let's welcome in Lauren Tidd. Lauren, welcome to the show.
Hi.
Okay, we will get rolling right away. Rugby is a sport we haven't touched on before. And as I mentioned to some other people, it's not the sort of sport that a lot of kids play at a young age. In fact, you mentioned to me that you played soccer, basketball, and even wrestled in high school. So did you play rugby at all before college, and how were you introduced to the sport?
So the first time I actually ended up playing rugby was when I was in middle school in St. Stephen. So it was grade 8. I decided to play because a few of my other friends played, and I thought it seemed fun, but I was also very intimidated because I didn't know anything about the sport. So grade 8, I actually had to make a promise to my mom. She said, if I let you play this year, that's it. Don't ask me again ever after this. And I was like, okay, I probably won't like it, like whatever. So grade 9 comes around and I'm begging her to let me play again. So I did. So I played throughout high school, and I actually got the chance to play for a club team in St. John Irish. So they're a women's league up there. St. John has a couple teams, but I would definitely recommend to anyone who is looking to build their skills to reach out to a club team. So I believe it was ages 15 up. So I got the chance to play with people who had been playing the game for decades, people who have coached the game at like national levels. So I really got to build my skills pretty quickly with them. It was a huge challenge, but it was definitely worth it when I came back to play in high school because it just felt so much easier, and I'd learned a lot, and I got to bring those skills back to my team with me. And yeah, and then I also got to play Team New Brunswick for 1 year.
By the way, I think your cat just jumped into the picture.
Yes, of course he did.
that makes for better TV. Evan, what do you got?
Yeah, absolutely. This is a sport that we haven't covered much. So maybe for myself included, but our viewers who are unfamiliar with the sport, can you give us the quick 30-second breakdown of how many players are on the team, how long is each half, and maybe what positions you play?
Yeah, so for someone who doesn't really understand rugby, it's kind of hard to explain, but for each half is about, it's 40 minutes, and that will change depending on high school. I believe it's 35, but for the university level, it's 40 minutes. There's 15 players on the field at each time for each side. So 8 of those players are considered forwards and 7 are considered backs. So forwards are the ones who go into what's called a scrum. So that's when you're trying to gain possession of the ball. Both you kind of like make like a little, I don't know what to call it, but like, yeah, the scrum, and then you just push for the ball for the possession. So the scrum half will feed it under your feet and you just kind of push. So my job is to be at the back of the scrum. So I'm the last one in there and I play number 8. So I keep the ball in a safe play and wait for the scrum half to come and pick it and pass it out to the backs so the backs can move it up the field. And also as 8, I'm responsible to do what's called an 8 pick. So instead of the scrum half coming around, say if we're like 10 yards away from the try line, and I think that I can pick it and make it, so I'll do that. So I'll pick up the ball and I'll just run and try to score. So that's what I do. And our team at UMB has been on the smaller side for players the past few years. So we've only had about like 25 to 30 at the beginning. And then as the season goes on, those numbers unfortunately do drop a little bit due to injuries and just other things that come up during the season. But most of the bigger schools, I'd say, would have like 45 to 50 players on their roster. And then, which is the more the better to for practices and stuff like that. So
Sure.
yeah.
Now, are there rugby skills that you can practice on your own, or is it sort of like football where, most of the skill work is done in a team practice?
So it's definitely beneficial to have someone there with you, but there are a few things that you can do. So one thing that I learned when I was in on the Team New Brunswick team, it was this drill where you hold the ball kind of like flat in your hand and you throw it at the wall and it should come back into your hands if you do it properly. And that's just to like work on your passing and your aim. So that's a big one that I did a lot by myself. And then there's also like footwork drills that you can do to work on your agility. And that's a huge factor in the game, especially if you're playing in the backfields. And even if you have access to like a foam tackle bag, you can even practice your tackles by yourself, or even just laying on the ground and getting up quickly. That's a huge part of the game. You're constantly doing that after tackles and after being tackled. So yeah, there's a few things that you can definitely do by yourself.
Evan, you have one more for Lauren.
Yeah, Lauren, what's your favorite part of the sport, and maybe what's one of the bigger challenges you find to it?
So my favorite part is definitely the team dynamic. So even in grade 8, like we weren't that close of a team, but going on from there, every team I was a part of, it was very family-like. And I don't know, I found like it wasn't the same kind of vibe as like soccer or basketball would have been. And everyone's just super welcoming and everyone just wants you to improve. And something I do like about rugby especially is there's a position for everyone, no matter your height, no matter like your weight, no matter your athletic ability, there's definitely a spot on the field for you. So I have friends who are barely even 100 pounds who can run like crazy and there's a spot for them. And then it's a great sport for that. And so everyone can feel included. And I found also in high school, especially, there was a lot more girls who got the chance to come out and play a sport who typically wouldn't have been able to or felt comfortable enough, because like basketball, everyone kind of looks the same with soccer typically. So I love that aspect. It's super inclusive. And my high school coach, Bob Coates, he said, rugby is a game. It doesn't matter where you go in the world. If you show up with your bag, with your cleats and a ball ready to play, and you see a group of people playing rugby, they'll say, come on and join us. And I've found that to be very true, which is great. And as for the challenging part, I think basically like the rules is the most confusing part, especially at the start. So it wasn't until like my 3rd high school game where I was finally like, oh, I get it. Like, this is how it works. And every year the rules are updating for safety reasons and just getting rid of things that don't really make sense as the years go on. So I played for 11 years now and I still don't know every single rule. It would be impossible for me probably to sit down and like explain every single rule. I just kind of go until I hear the whistle sometimes, and our coaches will update us if there's any major rule changes at the beginning of the season.
Also, before we forget, we wanted to make sure we mentioned your teammate. Is it Megan or Megan?
Megan.
Megan Stewart, originally from St. Andrews, who was named player of the game in your championship game win. And who'd you guys beat in the finals?
We beat the University of King College, the Blue Devils, I think they're called. But yeah, Megan is an outstanding player. I'm not sure if this is her first year playing the sport, but she played basketball at, I believe, York University for the past 4 years before coming to UMB. She's always been a very strong athlete, and having her on our team was just amazing because as soon as she would get the ball, I'd pretty much just turn around and start walking back to reset because I'd be like, ah, she's got it. She's going to score. So it's definitely amazing to have her on the team.
Excellent.
Helped a lot.
And before we get you out of here, Lauren, we have a few fun, what we've called rapid fire questions for you. These eventually will be scrubbed from the tape, so any future employers will not be able to see or hear your replies. But when you're in school there in Fredericton, what is your favorite restaurant?
I would have to probably say the Snooty Fox, downtown Fredericton. That's just a classic one to go to. They have really great pub food and I always have a good time there. So
The Snooty Fox. My favorite was when I went up.
Undisputed, by the way.
Evan,
Spent a lot of time there.
I hear your name is on the wall, Evan, up there.
It is. I wrote it in Sharpie, but
All right. Favorite area to go back home in St. Andrews when you want to get away from it all?
I would have to say Kingsbury Garden. My dad, he's worked there ever since I was born, and it's just always been like a really safe place for me. I got the chance to work there as a server back in 2019. That was hands down the best experience of my life. And it's just such a beautiful place and relaxing place to go. And it always makes me feel happy every time I walk through there. So definitely Kingsbury.
It is a neat place. Evan's favorite place in town is the basement at the CHCO studios.
you're not supposed to tell people that. But
And then last one, when you're in need of a cup of coffee in St. Andrews, Tim's or Honey Beans?
Of course, Honey Beans.
Okay,
There.
good choice. Good choice. Go with the local place. Well, she is Lauren Tidd, champion women's rugby player at UNB and the pride of St. Andrews after Evan, of course. And Lauren, thank you so much for joining us on the show and teaching us about rugby.
Thank you for having me.
thank you.
Well, coming up next on Small Town Spotlight, we finish our second complete trip around the country with a visit to the Yukon. And you're watching Mick and T Sports Report on CHCO-TV from scenic St. Andrews, New Brunswick. It's time for another edition of Small Town Spotlight here on CHCO-TV. Since CHCO is available on Bell Satellite throughout Canada, you can watch our show on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday nights if you live in Deer Lake, Newfoundland, or Deer Island right here in New Brunswick. And as always, you can watch our show on YouTube. This is our 26th edition of Small Town Spotlight, which means we've hit each province and territory in Canada 2 times since we started. Let's head 24 hours north of Vancouver and 18 hours east of Anchorage, Alaska, to the Yukon and the town of Watson Lake. With a population of 1,133, the city was named for Frank Watson, an American rapper and prospector who settled there in the late 1980s. Wait, my producer's apparently telling me that Frank Watson was an American trapper, not rapper, and he settled there in the late 1880s, not 1980s. Well, that's quite embarrassing. At any rate, let's all find out a bit more about Watson Lake in the Yukon. To tell us more about the area, let's welcome in Watson Lake resident Lelah Bruce. Lelah, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Nice to meet you, Joe.
All right, time to tell us about your area. How long have you lived in the Yukon, and has your time there always been in Watson Lake?
I've been here for 30 years, coming up, I guess 29 to be specific. I've been in Whitehorse for 15 of those years and 15 years here. I moved up here for work. Most of us that aren't born locally have come up for work.
Okay, so and Whitehorse, you said is about 5 hours away?
That's correct. It's 500 kilometers.
Okay. Now, I was looking up, there's a pretty unique place in town called the Signpost forest. So why don't you tell us about that?
Our signpost forest is world famous. This is a destination for people from Europe in particular, Japan as well. Lots of tourists coming through from overseas. They will ship signs ahead of them so that they'll have a sign waiting for them to put up in the forest. This is the largest signpost forest in the world, which is why it's such a neat little attraction for us to have here. This was started in 1942 by a soldier when they were building the highway. He was injured, and I guess he was feeling bored and was told to go paint a sign. So he stuck his sign up on a signpost, and then clearly people think this is a good idea. So we should be hitting 100,000 signs this year. So come on, anybody who wants to come up, 100,000 should be this year, yes.
Oh,
so we're pretty proud of our signpost forest.
Any from Connecticut?
I'm sure there is. I haven't met anybody who said they can't find something out in that forest.
Okay, that is quite a neat tourist attraction. Just a neat idea. Have you put one up there?
I sure have. And I think every resident pretty much has. The signs are free to put up. You can put them up any time of the day or night. There's no kind of restriction to them. So everybody likes to leave their name behind. And this is a really nice way for people to do it in a, not drawing on the rocks sort of thing.
Sure. Now there's also the Northern Lights Space and Science Center located in town. First, give me a quick explanation of what are the Northern Lights and then what's located in the center there.
The Northern Lights are basically gases from the sun that are burning up in the atmosphere. And because we're at the kind of top of the world, we get a lot more, it's easier to see the gases because we get a bigger kind of sky up here. And at night, of course, we have long nights in the fall, spring, and winter. The Northern Lights Center is a planetarium. It's the only planetarium north of 60. It runs a Northern Lights show, and it's on a domed screen. So normally it's like a planetarium effect. And they explain the Northern Lights, how they work, and then they show some actual footage up on the dome. It kind of makes it look like you're sitting under the Northern Lights.
Now, is that sort of an example of what they look like?
That's a very nice example. They do come in more colors, though. You can see pinks kind of in purples if you get a real good show too, but they'll light the snow up beautifully.
And what time of year is best for seeing those?
Northern Lights are around all the time. It's just that in the summer, of course, the sun is up. The sun drowns out the Northern Lights. That being said, I have seen the Northern Lights when there's still light in the sky, but they have to be pretty bright then. Winter's good because we have lots of dark. So we've got, 18 hours of dark to find Northern Lights.
Interesting stuff. Interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
For anyone that's looked on a map, the Yukon is quite a vast territory. So I'm sure there's other things to do if someone was up there visiting. So what are some other things in the territory outside of Watson Lake that you find interesting and visitors would also?
There's lots of things here. They're just a long ways apart. Whitehorse is a nice hub to work out of. Carcross has the smallest desert in the world. Always worth going to see that. Kluane Mountain Range has the largest mountain in the world. You can take flight seeing tours out there. We have the most northern highway, being the top of the world highway. You can travel. And we also have the Dempster Highway, which takes you right through up to Tuktoyaktuk now. So there's lots of things to see and do. Animal viewing everywhere. The spring is your best time to come for animal viewing because they're all coming down out of the mountains and onto the highways. But you need to take your time because we have lots and lots of space.
Now, what
and
type
you can drive for a long time. And
now, how about give me some of the examples? What type of animals would you see?
Oh, black bear are a big one. You'll frequently see grizzly. Moose are a little more shy, but lynx, coyotes, foxes, deer are moving into the Yukon. They never used to be here, but you'll see deer, caribou, porcupines, otters, kind of a whole gamut of wildlife if you're here long enough and you sit quietly enough.
Okay. And you'd said like when you're visiting, you need to just sort of have the feeling to unplug and explore what's out there.
Absolutely. One thing people don't expect is when we say you unplug, you're unplugged whether you want to or not. We've got 7-hour spaces where there's no service, you know, and that's a normal. So when you're talking to family, let them know you might be out of service for a day, because you will be.
And not to panic when they don't hear from you.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Well, it certainly sounds like one of the more unique and gorgeous areas in the world. And as I always mention to all of our guests, if you ever do come down to the US and make it down New England way, make a stop here in Connecticut, and I will show you some of New Haven's world famous thin crust pizza. What's the pizza like up there?
Yeah, let's not go there.
Okay. What food would you say is good up there that you wouldn't find in other places typically?
I think they do a lot of bison burgers here that are very, very good. And bannock, I suppose, is kind of the number one unique bread up here. And that's
what is that?
It's a native recipe. It's a type of bread. Some people cook it over a fire. Some people will cook it in oil. But it's very tasty.
And it's bannock.
It's called bannock. Basically, it's a bread, I think. It's an unleavened bread. It's very simple to make. You can take it when you're backpacking, because you can just bring flour, water, and kind of make it. I'm not really sure. I've never made bannock, but it tastes good.
Okay, great. Well, she is Lelah Bruce from lovely Watson Lake in the Yukon. And Lelah, thanks so much for coming on the show and telling us about your area.
You're welcome. I hope to see y'all up here. Stop into our visitor centers when you come, and we'll find a place for you to hang out.
And we're back, and it appears so is Joe's horrible play on words. I'm hoping to God that Yukon shirt was not on purpose.
You are correct, sir. That was sort of a play on words with the Yukon territory with the t-shirt there. Evan, you found a mistake from our first segment. So why don't you hit us with that?
I don't even know if it was a mistake or if you're just continuing your shots at Canadian sports today, but we did have a player who played lacrosse for the University of North Carolina. So this would make our 13th sport that's coming, but it would be just like you to leave out Canada's actual national sport.
It would be just like me for my memory to be going on a continuing basis here. All right, let's get right to the shout outs. What do you have?
Yeah, let's go. I'm going to give a shout out to my basketball team that I coach. We just kind of finished our season. We had maybe not the finish we were looking for in the playoffs, but at the same time, we weren't sure if we were going to get to the playoffs, let alone if the league was going to let any teams play it. So came back after being shut down, and they fought. They had a really good second half of the season, only losing one game since Christmas. So shout out to those guys, and especially Isaiah, who's graduating this year, and also our exchange student from Germany, Igmar. Enjoyed having both you guys on the team, and best of luck.
Nice job by the squad. My shout out is going to go to John Pearson of Channel 8 in New Haven. He was the guest on the very first Zoom episode we did, which is coming up on 2 years. And he was named the 2021 Connecticut Sportscaster of the Year. There is John in the middle, and I'm on the left, and the man on the right was soon after this taken, apprehended by authorities and forced to live in Moncton for the next winter. Who is that? Who is that grizzly bear?
I don't know. That's one of our lumberjack friends, the guy who goes in winter mode.
Nice. Well, that's the shout outs, and that also is it for episode 34 of Mick and T's Sports Report. I'm Joe in New Haven.
I'm Evan here in St. Andrews, New Brunswick.
Thanks to CHCO-TV station manager Patrick Watt, who just had a birthday, and editor Flo Cabulary Mitchell. I'm reaching now. Patrick and Flo do a tremendous job of producing and editing a show that is more popular than a William Shatner non-fungible token. I have no idea what that means, but it's supposed to be something that's hip and up to date. So now that we've once again come to the end of another show, we will leave you in honor of basketball with peace, love, and March Madness. Go Yukon. Both Yukons. This is Mick and T Sports Report on CHCO-TV, and we'll see you next time.